Let's welcome in Ben Volin from the Boston Globe, senior NFL writer. Hello, Ben. Thanks for taking time to talk to us here today. I read your story about the rule changes. So just right off the bat here, what do you think the rule changes that should get us most excited for this coming season? Doesn't seem like anything major, but what would you say?
No, they really didn't try to do anything major, especially in a COVID year. They didn't want to, rock the boat too much. But the most interesting thing is adding these responsibilities to the instant replay judge, and they're towing a line very, very carefully here. You can tell it's like a half measure to appease the coaches who want less pressure on them to have to challenge, and the coaches just want the calls to be made right. And there's a lot of people in management and the competition committee, the ownership level, who aren't very comfortable with the idea of the instant replay official having sway, on officiating and throwing a flag from the booth. And let's slow everything down to the nanosecond and frame by frame to see if there should have been an offensive holding call. So this is kind of like a half measure that I think some people inside the NFL are viewing a little skeptically, because it is taking them to another threshold that they don't usually like. They did that for a year when they allowed instant replay to be reviewed, and they hated it and they got rid of it. So this is kind of a measure to make the coaches happy. John Harbaugh from the Ravens and the coaches subcommittee were the ones who really pushed this rule. And so they're making them happy, but they're also kind of towing the line. And I think there are a lot of people skeptical of allowing the replay official to have too much influence.
Is it almost to prevent the disasters, like the big egregious missed call? Just the big play they don't want, because I almost feel like I've seen officials over the past couple of years, and I don't know how much communication is between New York and on the field, but dressed as officials, they come out with the earpiece in. It seems like there is some communication already going on, but is this going a little bit further, Ben?
No question, it's going a lot further. And I think the thing that Rich McKay, who's the chairman of the competition committee, he's the Falcons president, what he said yesterday is they're only going to allow the replay judge to view objective things. What did a guy step on a line? Was the ball over the goal line? Things that you would think would be objective, although anyone who's watched football knows there's a lot of gray area in a lot of that stuff. Interestingly, this proposal would not fix the Saints defensive pass interference call from the NFC Championship a few years ago, because that's a judgment call. That's a penalty. This is only for very objective things. Did the guy step on the sideline? Did he complete the catch? Did the ball hit the ground? So they're trying to finesse it, and we'll see how it works this year. But I think certainly this is something to appease the coaches. Clearly, they don't want to have to challenge anymore. They want the decision taken away from them. So I think the NFL, in a best case scenario, this helps get the calls right, but it doesn't take away from the powers of the officials on the field. But we'll see how it works, in reality.
Of the other rules, Ben, what was most interesting to you?
They're all kind of boilerplate stuff. The jersey thing is very interesting. They've opened up the single-digit uniforms to linebackers and wide receivers, and everyone's going to be fighting for number 1 and number 2, and their old college uniforms. But what I found so fascinating about this, I didn't know this rule existed until this rule got approved yesterday. But if you're a player and you change your jersey number for next year, you have to buy all your excess jerseys that are hanging around the warehouses for the NFL shop. You have to buy out the jerseys. But if you say, I'm going to change my uniform in 2 years from now, that gives the NFL enough time to still sell your jersey for next year. So there's a big financial component to this, and guys have to decide, is it worth changing their jersey if they have to spring for 4,000 jerseys of their old number?
So not only do you have to decide if you want to change your number, Ben, you have to call around to warehouses throughout the world. How many do you have? How many do you have of my jersey? How much you selling them for? That's a lot of work for these players.
Okay, you just bought 3,000 of your own jerseys, and you change the numbers. So what are you going to do with them? It's a fascinating dilemma.
Is there a rule, Ben, that was not approved that you expected to get approved, or maybe it's been tabled for years to come?
The only thing that surprised me, frankly, was that they did approve this rule that gave the expanded responsibilities to the replay judge. I actually didn't think the NFL was going to move that far. They had a bunch of fun proposals, and basically all the fun ones got voted down. And I think I did see that coming, just because the NFL, like a lot of these owners, they don't do change lightly. And, instituting 4th and 15 as an alternative for the onside kick. Sounds great. I love it. It'd be a lot of fun. It might make the NFL look a little arena footballish. So I think the owners are always kind of wary of that. The sky judge, as I said before, the NFL does not really want to take that step if they don't have to. And instead they created a half measure. The Bills had an interesting proposal about the timeline for when you can hire coaches. They think it's a distraction for their coaches who are in a playoff run to be interviewing for jobs. And maybe you're at a disadvantage if you make it all the way to the Super Bowl and a hiring team just wants to move on. But the NFL tabled all that stuff. So we've seen it the last 2 years. There have been fewer proposals, and the NFL has accepted fewer proposals. Just with COVID, they're not trying to rock the boat. They're trying to keep things as normal as possible.
Hey, Ben, if you'd have asked me a couple of years ago, I would have said the onside kick is gone. It's going to be gone within 5 years, too dangerous, player safety. Now it almost seems like they're trying to make it work, and I wouldn't bet against it sticking around for years to come. Am I wrong in that, Ben?
No, and that's another area where they approved of a half measure. 4th and 15 would have taken a blowtorch to the onside kick. Instead, they're like, let's see if we can bring the play back. They changed the kickoff rules so much because of health and safety that it rendered the onside kick completely, impossible to recover. I think the numbers I saw were that 4 of 67 onside kicks last year were recovered. That's like 5%. You need more than that. You need the play to be competitive again. So they instituted this half measure where they're limiting the number of players the defense can have in the box. You can now only have 9 players in the box. The offense can only have 5 on either side. So, maybe that measure will help improve the odds of the onside kick. It's just a 1-year thing. The 4th and 15 will always be around. And if they just can't get the onside kick, back to a competitive play, then I think, then they'll seriously look at 4th and 15. But they don't want to just take that major step. They want to see if they can fix the play first.
Ben, I'm going to give you a chance to be wrong. What do you think Bill Belichick and the Patriots do on draft night?
Well, that's an area of specialty, especially being wrong about the Patriots in the draft is my specialty. Look, I think the play is for the quarterback is definitely there. I don't think there are as many teams in front of them that want, the final 2 quarterbacks, whoever they may end up being, whether it's Lance and Fields, maybe Mac Jones. But I think a lot of teams would like to trade out of their picks. And I think the Patriots really have to be more worried about the teams behind them trading up in front of them for a quarterback like a Washington or a Pittsburgh or New Orleans than, Atlanta, Philly, Carolina. I just don't see these teams being in it right now. So, of course, the play is there for the Patriots to go get Trey Lance. And I think that'd be terrific. Sit him beside Cam Newton for a year, maybe even find a role for Trey Lance, while – maybe do the 2 quarterback thing like the Saints did with Taysom Hill and Drew Brees. So I would like the Patriots to make a bold move to get one of these quarterbacks, and I think the opportunity is there. That said, this is the Patriots. They'll probably take a guard from Rutgers, with the 15th pick. And I do like the idea too of maybe they take a real player at 15, but they can always trade up into the back end of the first round. Go get number 31 and go get Kellen Mond or Kyle Trask or whoever they like there. So to me, it's a major disappointment if the Patriots don't come out of the first 2 days of the draft, the first 3 rounds, if they don't have a quarterback, because clearly they just don't have the answer on their roster. And they can't keep doing this where they're just kind of hoping and praying that a quarterback falls in their lap. They need to be bold and go do something about it.
If you could poll the fans right now, who do you think they would pick to be their quarterback next year and maybe into the future? Cam Newton, rookie quarterback, or trade back for Jimmy Garoppolo?
Yeah, Jimmy G is the guy that I think fans realistically want as the answer. I just don't think it's going to happen this year. I just get the sense the Niners feel they have a championship caliber roster and they're not ready to turn that team over to some rookie, especially coming off a COVID year and a strange pre-draft process. So I think they're serious about keeping Garoppolo. I think I do think he'll be in play next offseason, but I just don't see it right now. The Patriots fans are not into Cam Newton. There's been a lot of unrest from the fans. Like, this is the best that you guys could do again after the season that Cam just had. So we'll see. But clearly, rookie, the fans are ready for the team to invest in a rookie. I don't get the sense that they necessarily want Fields over Lance or anything of that nature. I keep hearing that Lance would be a tremendous fit for the Patriots offense. Again, he's a guy who needs to sit. So that's, no pressure situation with the Patriots. Cam can play for this year and Trey Lance could sit. But the fans overwhelmingly want this team to go big, go bold, and invest in a quarterback.
Well, Ben, I'm rooting for you. I don't want you to be wrong. I want you to be right. You're right about a whole lot. Ben Volin, senior NFL writer for the Boston Globe. A lot of great insights on the rule changes in the NFL and what the Patriots may or may not do. Thanks, Ben.
All right. Thanks a lot.